Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock. Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
It's 7th Street Productions' 31 Days of Halloween.
Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome back to 7th Street, and welcome to 7th Street Productions' 31 Days of Halloween, where we are counting down my personal favorite 31 horror films of all time. And today, at number 9, we have the movie that single-handedly ruined master director Todd Browning's career, and a movie that isn't even really a horror film, actually, but it has been adopted by the horror community, so it sorta counts. And that would be Freaks. This movie came out right off the heels of Dracula, right when Todd Browning was really hot and cooking. And this movie was actually banned for a number of years in the United States. Talk about the land of the free. It wasn't rediscovered until the 60s. The counterculture sort of rediscovered the film, and it started playing in, like, grindhouses and stuff, you know, when everyone would get stoned and go to the local theater. The movie centers around a group of circus performers, most notably a group of carnival freaks. And the movie really plays out sort of like a soap opera. It just deals with their everyday lives and the drama that they go through. You know, things like getting engaged and relationships not working out. But everything starts to come to a head when the leader of the circus and one of the freaks, a little person named Hans, falls in love with a normal-sized trapeze artist named Cleopatra. And Cleopatra actually has some very sinister motivations behind all of this. She's actually in a relationship with the strong man, but wants to marry Hans so that she can take over the carnival or the circus of freaks. Whatever they are, carnival, circus, it's sort of the same thing in my mind anyhow. I'm sure that the comments will tell me which is right and which is wrong. Like I said, the movie really isn't a horror film until the last few moments where the freaks realize what Cleopatra is doing. She plans to kill Hans and take over the whole circus. They decide to take revenge on Cleopatra and her secret lover. And there are all of these great moments with all of the freaks crawling underneath like these carriages in the rain, and it's very disturbing. There's not a lot of music in this movie because it was made at a time where sound movies were relatively new. I mean, even in Todd Browning's film right before this, Dracula, there was very little music going on and very little dialogue. And that just sort of adds to the creepiness of this movie. It's hard for me to put my finger on exactly what it is that I love about this movie so much. I guess it's In one way, it's just a time capsule. It's almost like looking at a different country. You know, growing up in the 90s and now living in the 2000s, looking at 1930s America it's just so bizarre. And that's one thing that I really like about these films. But there's something very stylistic about it. And, you know, I tend to just root for the underdog, and the fact that this movie was banned for nearly 40 years just makes it all that much more cool. You know, you feel like you're seeing something that you shouldn't. It was really interesting how this movie outraged people when it's really a pro-disabilities movie. You see these circus freaks take their revenge. A highlight of this movie, mainly the real main highlight other than the end siege, is this big dinner where they bring Cleopatra into the fold of being a freak, and they do their whole big chant there, gooble gobble, one of us. It's just this really great moment with all of these actually deformed people jumping up on a table and dancing and drinking. It's a really phenomenal film. This is another one that I would classify as a must see for anyone who considers themselves to be a lover of cinema. Definitely anybody who's in film school, I think, should see this film. If not for, just the history of this film, how movies were made back in the 30s and the absence of music and dialogue is really interesting. So, if you haven't seen Freaks, I definitely recommend it.